Welcome to The Old Man and the Three with JJ Redick and Tommy Alter, presented by Cash App and brought to you by 342 Productions. This is episode 20, DeMar DeRozan. We're going to jump right in to our conversation with DeMar. DeMar, what's up, man?
Oh, man, what's going on, JJ?
Thank you for coming on. We appreciate the time. I thought we could just start with just talking a little bit about Game 4. I loved the biggest adjustment that the Lakers made was putting Anthony Davis on Jimmy Butler.
Yeah.
And that negated a lot of his playmaking.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people don't realize that, first of all, AD was a point guard back in the day. So he understands what he got to do out there on the perimeter. And for him to be as long as he is and the threat that he is defensively, it's tough. I remember a few times he switched on me this year, and it's tough. You know, it makes you second guess and got to figure out how to get into a different type of bag to even score or create for somebody else. So, you know, that was a big adjustment.
What else, DeMar, what else did you see last night that sort of stood out to you?
I don't know. Lakers just came out. They just came out wanting it. And it's crazy even to see what Bron said about, you know, sending a team the text message that he sent. They came out and played like it. You know, that game is kind of always the hardest game to play, especially against the Heat that's going out there playing their ass off and to come off the confidence that they had last game, to get Bam back. You know, I'm pretty sure their confidence is extremely high. So the Lakers came out, did what they had to do. Bron picked it up offensively in the second half, and they just ran off with it.
DeMar, in rewatching some of the game this morning, I was kind of keyed in on the pick and roll coverage they were running when Jimmy was getting guarded by Anthony. And I think you're the perfect person to talk to because this is a coverage that you see quite a bit. So as Jimmy would go and headhunt and try to get a different matchup, the guard would show and Anthony Davis would essentially go fourth man. He would go underneath the screener and his own guy showing. So the reason that's effective against a guy like Jimmy Butler is because Jimmy is not a high-volume three-point shooter. You cannot run that defense, that coverage against a guy like Damian Lillard or Steph. And so for you, this is a coverage that you've seen a lot. And so take me through your sort of reads or your mindset when you're getting that coverage and how you attack out of that.
A lot of times when you know, guys showing, you know, what I always like to do, coming off, you got to kind of find an angle, you know, because if you let a guy get all the way under and get right back in front of you, it's going to be hard to find any type of angle to try to attack that defender. So for me, a lot of times, I remember I learned this from the best when I played with Cal Lowry. He was one of the best screen setters. Even if a guy went under me, he always found a way for me to be able to find an angle to be able to attack that defender that goes all the way under. So sometimes you got to screen your own guy. Sometimes you got to play tricks with it. Sometimes you got to mess with it. But it's tough. It's tough. Like you said, especially, you know, Jimmy is not like a Dame or even you know, you getting taken out the game if you go underneath guys like y'all. So for us, you always got to try to find different angles. I'm pretty sure they watch your film. You're going to have to try to stay away from anything that'll put you in that position of knowing that it kind of defeats the purpose of you even running that, you know. So that's why a lot of times for me when I'm in that position, I kind of like, you know, why I try to be such an ISO-minded person and kind of, you know, be able to create my own shot, kind of make my own play because it gets tough when they get to guarding you like that.
And this just, I think, speaks to the volume or the value, rather, of Anthony Davis. And look, DeMar, you're probably not that familiar with the pod. We get a lot of shit from our listeners because they think this is actually one of the best Miami Heat podcasts because we always praise the Heat.
We've been giving a lot of love to the Heat on this show.
We give a lot of love to the Heat, okay? But I want to say this. Anthony Davis, the Pelicans, we gave up, we got a ton back when we gave up Anthony Davis. And he's showing the value of his skill set and the versatility of his skill set in this series. and what he did in Game 4, there's maybe no one else in the world that can do that at his size and his position. And so, in terms of like making the adjustment for Miami, you can't, you mentioned just going straight to an ISO, but I think it's difficult to say that in this situation because, Jimmy's then just ISO'd against Anthony Davis. We're back to the start. So I like your mention of just changing screening angles and really figuring that out. I'm sure Spo's going to coach that well. But then, we're going to have to get the Heat are going to have to get a little more creative with their off-ball movement. The one thing I wanted to say too was it's really apparent how valuable Goran Dragic is for the Heat right now because they're missing his playmaking and his scoring in the half court.
Yeah, that's big. He's a threat. He's one of the key major threats that's able to get their own shot off, 3-point threat, creating for guys. When you have another guy that's that dynamic of a player out there, it changes the whole game. And just not to have that out there, that also gives a chance to allow Jimmy to be off the ball so much and not have to run so many of those screens. So it sucks not to have him. I was rooting for him to, I seen him try and make it back, play. But losing him, it's tough, man. It's tough. You talk about somebody that's been putting up 20 points a game in the playoffs. That's big, so to lose that kind of puts them in a funk when they get in situations like they was in last night.
I was going to say, the other guy I wanted to mention to both of you, who JJ and I talked about a little bit last night, is KCP. And he obviously hit a couple big shots at the end of the game, but he's been very consistently good for them this entire run. And I don't think maybe before last night, sort of the casual observer is really giving him enough credit for how he's played on both sides.
Yeah, for sure. Even before he even hit that corner three last night, he had ISO clock running down on top of the key. He got a big bucket for him with the layup, driving to the right, hitting the shots when he need to hit them. Take him out. It'd be a tougher task for the Lakers. Like you said, he's definitely not getting the credit he deserves, and I'm pretty sure he catches a lot of flack.
Yeah, he does
from especially Laker fans and everything. So, just seeing him stick with it late in the game, it's been big, especially for him to hit that shot.
We've already praised two Laker players.
This is the Laker show now.
we can end the segment now. No, I do want to say one other thing about this particular game. It had a totally different feel than the first three games. That game was like a deep in the series type playoff game. There was no flow whatsoever. It came down to sort of individual greatness. Can you get buckets in the playoffs? In the half court, you've been in a bunch of those games. There's a total different feel. The ease of movement, body and ball is just totally different.
Yeah, it's totally different. A lot. Those are the moments where your stars go out there and got to get you them tough buckets. Because your sets and a lot of things kind of not working at that point. Both teams know exactly what you're gonna run. Your strengths, your weaknesses. So it just comes down to individual effort, being able to get to a bucket, be able to create your own shot, be able to knock them big shots down, or be able to create and get somebody else an open shot. And that's what makes the Lakers so dangerous. Because Bron, he gets in the mode. If you want to score, he gonna get a shot off. If you want to create, get to the basket, he gonna get there. If you're gonna create, find somebody else like he did KCP, he gonna do that. And that's why he ends up in these positions over and over again, playing in the finals. So, it's been crazy to watch. And me being a basketball fan, not even me being in the NBA, just watching it, I wish it was in the arenas so you can see the full atmosphere of those big moments, of them shots, and seeing the crowd reaction, whether you're at home or away. But it's definitely been crazy to watch, man. That's
definitely what I miss the most, just in playing the 8 regular season games in the bubble. You just miss that interaction. You're I don't want to bring up a sore subject, but you're sort of an expert on this. and I've had the chance to play against LeBron in the playoffs too. But it's incredibly difficult to beat a LeBron team 4 times in a series.
Yeah,
and you know, you guys in 16 lose to them in the Eastern Conference Finals, and the next 2 years, you guys, when you were in Toronto, lost to them in the Eastern Conference semifinals. And he, for whatever reason, and I want to get your insight on this. For whatever reason, he's just unbeatable in the playoffs. He's so tough to beat, and it takes just a certain level of intellect to even get to his level.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely different. I mean, I remember for years I always caught so much flack of, you know, us being the better team or whatever we was at one point in the Eastern Conference Finals, and people not realizing, like, it's tough to get past this motherfucker. I don't care who you are, you know what I mean? And see him come to the West and be able to do the same thing, it's a testament to his greatness and, you know, his IQ to the game when he go out there and play. You know, I remember, like you said, 16 when we went to the Eastern Conference Finals. We won game 3 and 4, and it was like a whole nother mindset click for him in those next 2 games where it was like, yo, it's closeout. Like, and I remember, I don't know if I even told nobody other than my close circle. I remember it was a play we was trying to run, and one of our teammates forgot the play, and Bron told him the play. Like, it was some crazy shit. It was some crazy stuff. We called it a play, and he was like, what? And Bron told him what our play was. You know, and it just shows you, like, how locked in this dude be when it comes to winning time, man. And you see it when he out there on both ends, man. On both ends, and that's just a testament to who he is, why he been to 10 finals, why he's on the verge of getting his, you know, 4th ring. Everything, man, it's crazy.
The playoffs lend itself to a player of LeBron's intelligence because he finally has, not that he doesn't know this stuff during the regular season, but in the playoffs you have time to prepare. You have time to really break down film. You have time to really break down a scouting report. You have time to memorize all these plays. And for someone like him, I mean, look, he's probably got most of the stuff memorized in game 1 and 2, but by game 3, he's so dialed in. He knows everything you're doing on both sides of the ball.
Everything, both sides, every player, weakness, strength, plays, you know, and it's hard to find people like that these days that really live, sleep, breathe the game of basketball.
Do you ever think about a what if? Like, what if LeBron was not in the East when I was on those great Raptors teams? Like, you might have a couple championships.
For sure. I mean, listen, we always said that, and it was crazy to even think about it, because going into the playoffs, our whole mindset was we just gotta get past one guy. One guy, you know, and we're gonna get to where we gotta go. We're gonna make it to the finals. You know, we worry about whoever we play when we get to the finals, but it was always trying to get past one guy, you know, and that was the toughest test to be able to get past. And, you know, not to take nothing away from nobody, but, you know, you see the year he left, you know, they was able to got there and able to win a championship. So now for me to be in the West and LeBron to come to the West and see him in the finals in the West, it's a crazy thing. It's crazy.
That sucks. That sucks. Yeah, so that kind of leads me into this feeling that you had watching the Raptors finals run last year. And as someone who's played on multiple teams, and you started with Toronto and you helped build that franchise into an elite team, so your sentiments are probably a little different than some of my sentiments as I left other teams, because I didn't have probably as much invested as you did in Toronto. But I know every time I've left a team, I'm completely torn. There's this period of time where you're actively rooting against them, and then there's a period of time where you accept it and you're like, all right, I want to see my friends win. You know, I like this year with the Clippers. Like, I would have loved it if Doc had won a chip with LA. That would have been great. I would have been happy. 3 years ago, probably not. So I'm just curious about those emotions that you went through last year during the playoffs.
It definitely was tough, man. It was tough from the standpoint of, like you said, I was there 9 years, went through everything, accomplished so much things that people said we'd never be able to do. And that, I think for me, that's what drove me in my whole career. All the naysayers, like my whole time there, of us trying to build a winning program, and for me to turn into an all-star starter, see the all-star game, come to Toronto for the first time, make the playoffs, win every type of award you could think of, and kind of trend in the right direction. And for the one person that we only lost to leave, and us not to have a chance to be able to see what that would have turned into, for me personally, then me leave, then to see those guys get to where they was going, it definitely was tough. I wouldn't even lie. It was tough to see it. Especially once we lost in the playoffs, and you sit back and you see them winning, then you kind of feel like, damn, was I the problem? You know what I mean? Like, then you'd be like, nah, I wasn't a problem. Because we was doing the same thing. We just couldn't get past one person. So you're dealing with those type of emotions every time you watch it, every time you turn on the TV. And the shit was so crazy to me, because every time they did something, it was like, if I went on social media, if I turned on something, my name was always in the narrative too. That's what made it worse. It was like, yo, all right, just leave me alone out of it. Do what you gotta do. But I had such a close bond with all those guys. Obviously, everybody know me and Cal relationship, but especially those young guys, man. We molded those guys, and I never seen young dudes work as hard as they work when it comes to like a Freddie VanVleet, a Norm, a Pascal, like all these guys. Like, I used to go to the G League games, and they'd show up with us the next morning for shoot around and play with, like, they were so locked in. So to see those guys go out there and perform the way that they perform, I was always constantly talking to them, keeping them positive. If they lost a game, if they was going through something, if they needed whatever, through the whole process, I talked to them. And as soon as they won, I texted everybody a long text and congratulating them. I was happy for them, because I knew how rough it was being there, playing there, man. It was tough playing there, man. Like, nobody never gave us nothing. We had to fight, earn everything we wanted. And, I think for me, that was the part that hurt the most for me, because it's like, I finally wanted to feel that positive side of everything that we kind of went through all those years to get to that point. But, the city, I'm always invested in them differently. The everybody who worked for that organization, I still stay in contact with to this day. So, it was tough. I had my moments where I'm like, man, I can't watch this shit. I'm turning this shit off. And I had my moments to where it's like, I just want to see my guys do well. I want to see my guys do well. I want to talk to them, everything. So it was dope. And even to see Cal after they won it on the podium, shouted my name out, everything. So it to me, it made it feel like it was bigger than basketball at that point. But, I definitely had my moments.
A couple things there. Number one, I don't think it gets talked about enough, but you were literally second team All NBA in 2018.
Yeah.
I think you guys were the number one seed in the East. Yeah. Secondly, you mentioned the All-Star weekend in Toronto, and I think you and I can agree that was the coldest weekend of our lives.
Ever in my life. Ever. That was the worst. I swear to God, my whole time there, bro, I never felt it that cold. It was like.
So, Tommy, the wind comes off the lake. It was -5 without the wind chill.
Without the wind. JJ, was that your last 3-point shootout?
Yeah, I did
Toronto?
it twice. I didn't want to do it that year. So the only reason I did it, I did it in 15 in New York, and I was like, I'm never going to do it again. The only way I'll do the 3-point contest if I make an All-Star game, which obviously I know was a long shot, but 15 guys get hurt, and all of a sudden they need an injured, a reserve player. Maybe it's me. All right, I'll do the 3-point contest. But in 2016, that was when Zika was happening. So my wife and I, we accidentally got her pregnant, and it was unplanned. And we were going to Cabo, and we couldn't go to Cabo. We dragged all our friends up to Toronto for the weekend, and then we had like literally 2 other couples come up with us as their like vacation, and we couldn't go outside.
That was a bad week, man.
It was bad. It was bad.
What do you, DeMar? You've now been. We talk a lot about the Heat culture on this show over the last couple of weeks because of everything sort of they've been through over the last decade. But in Toronto, and you and Kyle really are responsible for building this, and then obviously now where you are, you've been in 2 different franchises that have sort of turned into like the model team cultures really of anywhere in the league. What do you think the similarities are between the two, and what's like the key thing, even when you were coming up in Toronto specifically, in terms of like building that, like finding these young guys and basically getting them all to buy in?
It was always character guys, and that met the work ethic. You put those 2 things together, you definitely gonna have a different type of chemistry and camaraderie when you get out there on that court. Everybody locked in. The culture is just completely different on down the line. From the front office to the players to the training staff. It's kind of like everything fits in together. And that's one thing I was able to tell, and that's one thing I was lucky to be able to make that transition too, because JJ will tell you it's a lot of guys that play a lot of places that be like, yo, this is just a shit show. You know what I mean? So for me to be able to make that transition to another organization that's all about character guys and work ethic and putting that all in one and just letting you go out there and play, that's the best way to be able to find joy in basketball.
It's a great way to put it. I like that. High character guys meet really good work ethic, and that's how you build a great culture. Part of the culture that's special in Toronto too is the fans. And not only are the Toronto fans just lunatics and awesome, but essentially you guys are like the national team of Canada. You're the only team up there. So you have the fandom is, I would assume, just nuts up there.
By far, I like, even when I went back for my first time with the Spurs, like, it was an emotion I never felt. Like, even this last year, I went back twice and I done fucking had a standing ovation and a fucking tribute video. Like, and the fans go crazy. And it's like, that's how they was when we was terrible to when we was winning, man. It's like the craziest thing. Like, they need to do a documentary just on the Toronto fans, because they passionate, man. And you gotta love it. And that's what made the game so fun. Going up there to play. That's what won us a lot of games in the fourth quarter, even when we was playing terrible, was the fans being able to, generate a different type of energy that the opponents probably wasn't used to. But the fans is they nuts, man. You gotta love it.
I've always wanted to ask a Raptors player this, and I don't know why I've never asked Kyle, because I've known Kyle for a long time. But how much of an inconvenience is it that you guys have to go through customs so many times during a season?
Is
that a pain in the ass?
Look, I swear, I always used to be confused. My whole time I was there, I always used to be confused when like new guys come to a team and they be like, yo, we gotta do this every time. Like, what is this? Like, really complaining. And for me, it was all I knew. So it was like, no, it's not that bad. Like, what's the problem? When I went to the Spurs, I said, this must really be how the NBA travels, because I didn't understand it until I went to the Spurs, how bad and terrible and frustrating that shit is. They go through customs every single time. And don't get me wrong, the custom people, they great, perfect. But it was a headache. Flying in, leaving, like everything was just a headache.
Well, how does it work? How does it for the fans? Because you guys both have had to do this. Did they come up to you like?
So it's like, you know, say you got a game in Toronto, you got a back-to-back, you got to leave that same night, right? You go into the airport,
the actual airport,
terminal,
yeah,
the actual terminal. So you know, a lot of times guys how they tour the trees and everything because you shower at the games. You go to TSA. If you got lotion, cologne, you got whatever, any liquid, it's out of there. Trash can. You got to throw it away before you go through. You in line with everybody else. It's the airport. It's like a normal airport. You got to do that every time. Then if you A56, you walk in 56 terminals until you get to your plane. Like it was that all the time, and I didn't realize how bad it was and how frustrating it was until I went to the Spurs, and I was like, yeah, I'm glad I don't.
Well, did you even have to do that in college at USC? Like, when was the last time you really had to do that besides this?
College.
So it was in college.
Yeah, you know, it's college, but you know, being a kid, you like, you know.
Yeah.
But in the league, I didn't realize how bad it's pretty bad.
For the listener, what normally happens for the other 29 teams is you pull up to a private FBO and you park your car, you go to security, you hand them your ID, and some people have their bags checked, some don't. It's random. They either say, you know, go off to the side or you're good to go. And most of the time you're good to go. So you just walk right on the plane, which generally speaking is like 50 feet away. And you're right, because I've never not flown out of A56. It always takes, it's like a 2-mile walk.
Yeah.
You know, you go through security, you go through customs, and then it's a 2-mile walk to this plane. It's bad. It's bad. Every time. I want to talk about scoring. You are one of the most unique elite scorers in the modern NBA, and you have been for some time. I'm going to tell a quick story before I ask any question, all right? So my first year in Philly, I was hurt. It was a game right before Christmas. So we're playing you guys, and all of a sudden you started shooting threes, and you hit 6 threes that game. And these weren't like end of shot clock threes either. These were like in rhythm, like off the dribble, like every different way. You're hitting threes. You ended up 6 for 9 from 3. You had 45 points. Later in the season, you're playing against Portland. You go 6 for 10. You have 35 that night. So in that season, you averaged 3.6 attempts per game. You've never come anywhere close to that at any point in your career. And since you got to San Antonio, your 2 years since you shot 3.6, you're at like half a three a game, not even a three a game. Why have you never pursued that? Because to me, as a shooter, and I watch you shoot all the time from 18 feet, 19 feet, 20 feet, whatever, there's no discernible change in your mechanics at 22 feet. And as I saw firsthand, as I'm sitting there on the sideline watching you light us up in Philly, you're more than capable of it.
Yeah, and it's crazy you asked me that. That year, I remember it was big that they was trying to get me to shoot threes, because the year before was 16. So 2016, I played. It's crazy. I never told this story. So 2016, we played in the Olympics. So that summer, I was working my ass off. The whole time we was in Rio, I had my trainer, my weight trainer. I'm working out every day. And I remember the big knock on me was, that's when it really started changing over to, guys shooting a lot of threes. And I remember somebody told me something like, you're not going to last long if you don't start shooting threes. So that year going into 2016, I made it, it was just me being an asshole. I'm going to be honest. I said, no, you can't tell me I have to shoot threes for me to be a good player. Like, what you talking about? So I think like my first like 7, 8 games or something. I had 30 plus. We winning. I think that year I averaged like 27. I barely shot threes, but I shot at a high rate, everything. It was just me being stubborn, trying to say like, I can be good. I don't have to shoot threes if I don't want to. That don't mean I can't or I don't know how, but I could be a dominant player at what I do if I play this way. I'm not taking away from nothing. I'm not just shooting miscellaneous shots and everything. So that year happened. I kind of proved the point, whatever. The next year it come, everybody kept saying I can't shoot threes. Like I just got tired of people saying I can't shoot threes. So that whole season, I was like, I'm gonna show you I can shoot threes. Like that was like my whole mindset switched, saying like, man, I don't give a damn what nobody said. I can shoot threes. Stop saying I can't shoot them just because I don't shoot them. There's a difference between can't and don't. You know, and that was kind of like my mindset. And I just went out there, and I just had a moment. You know what I mean? That year I just had a moment. Like, look, I can shoot them. So the next year come, and I just was myself. You know, I got more comfortable handling the ball. I got more comfortable playmaking for guys. I started playing with a lot more shooters that I haven't played with, and you know, I kind of got addicted with seeing my shooters get shots. You know, I remember that my first year in San Antonio, I played with a couple of shooters. Bertans, my first year, one of the best shooters I played with in my career. And I remember 2 games in, no, it wasn't. It was probably preseason. He came to me and told me, like, man, thanks. I ain't never got this many open shots, these many open threes. Like, man. Then I had Brent Forbes telling me the same thing, coming to me. And I felt different getting my shooter shots. To where, like, cool, y'all shoot y'all shots. I'm going to be in my comfort zone. When I need y'all, I'm going to make sure y'all get as many open shots as y'all want. And, you know, these last 2 years, I kind of just been more playmaking and playing to my ultimate strengths until I feel like somebody could stop me or slow me down doing that. You know what I mean? So it's not a knock on it, but I always felt like, why shoot a 3 when I know I could go get fouled, or I could get an easy shot, or I could get these 3 guys that's around me, that's 3-pointers, wide open shots. So that's kind of just like been my mental these last 2 years. I'm pretty sure I hit a spurt to where it's like, well, y'all keep saying I can't shoot threes. Let me start shooting threes again.
So a couple of things to follow up on that. Number one, you actually had your most efficient season this year in terms of scoring and shooting. Highest field goal percentage, highest 2-point field goal percentage, highest true shooting percentage of your career. Your last 2 years, you averaged a little under 6 assists this year and 6 assists last year. So those are career highs. So clearly your game continues to evolve and you continue to get better. I guess my issue with you saying that, though, so you're a dominant scorer and you're a great player, but in some ways it's just math because, and I'm sure you've seen this before. So I guess is it a comfort thing? Is it like I don't feel comfortable shooting threes? Because to me, I'm like, if you shot 8 threes a game, you might be a 30-point per game scorer and your true shooting percentage might be 65. I don't know. I don't know the limit of it. And so I guess sort of my question is, like, how much do analytics enter into your basketball worldview?
That was my whole issue with analytics in 2016 was, why are you dictating what shots I need to take? You know, and nothing against it. You know, I think I'm such a, like, I grew up, like, to this day, Jay, I could get off the Zoom with you and go downstairs and watch Boston Celtics Lakers finals from the 80s and watch how every guy got their shot off and be amazed by it and say, all right, cool, I'm gonna put this in my package. You know, I'm such a fan of the creativity a lot of those guys had back in the day. And I just always felt like it was a lost art, because if you look at, you know, the top 50 greatest players of all time, you know, how many of them really had to shoot 6 to 8 threes a game? You know, and that's just my preference of me, you know, loving the game. Like my first year in the league, Alex English was an assistant coach of mine. And I used to just love his swag, how he used to always know where he was going to get to his spots, get his shots off. And he always used to explain it to me. And I'm just like, yo, so I just always used to pick his mind or listen to him. I used to watch every game he played in. I'm like, yo, you telling me he scored 20-something thousand points by just doing this? So simple, so easy. And that's just my love of the game goes so deep of just watching so many older guys and being able to be creative, getting their own shots off, getting to their spots and feeling unstoppable. And when I know I can get to my spots and I feel like, man, nobody can stop me doing this, I become comfortable, or a lot of times if, I know I could go out there and shoot 8 threes, but damn, this could have been opportunity. I drove for a time and got, to the free throw line or kicked it out for a guy who a 3-point shooter who's dying just to get a wide open shot, who can't create his own shot, but he's ready to catch and shoot. Just my own approach to the game. Like I said, I don't have nothing to guess it. I'm not rebellion towards it. You know what I mean? But it's just like, stop me from getting to this spot and stop me from getting to the rim. Then all right, cool. I'll take a couple here and there. But it's crazy. It's crazy that you put in that perspective and ask me like that because I never really talk about it. I always see people say, mid-range this, and this, but this is my reason. Y'all say I can't do this because I don't choose to do it.
Do you get annoyed ever when you're like you've averaged 27 a game, 26 a game, 4 All-Stars, Team USA, all these things. Clearly it's working out. And so you kind of, even having someone from the whatever coaching staff, media, peanut gallery commenting, and you're like, it's not like you haven't basically been able to do whatever you want scoring wise on the court since you've come into the league.
For sure. It do catch you sometimes where, they be like, you need to go get in the gym and do this. Like, I'm pretty sure you can name many people who in the gym more than me,
Yeah.
You had your moments, but for me, it's just like I'm found like it's such an art when I watch guys who do it at a high rate. I become such of a fan of it and take, like, for example, like JJ, like it's unstoppable to stop him. So it's like I always put players like that in my spectrum of how I could get a shot off or how I could get to a basket. You know what I mean? A lot of times of how JJ used the screen to come off the screen. Let me use this to be able to turn the corner and get all the way to a basket, or turn the corner and find my man in left corner because this guy done sucked in because he seen me coming off a screen a million miles per hour and get him a wide open shot. So a lot of times it's never me looking how I can shoot the threes. It's always more how I could get my 3-point shooters shots, easy shots without having to work so hard as well. So
you bring, one of the things you've talked about now a little bit is just generating 3-pointers. And this is a talking point with Ben Simmons. Ben, for whatever reason, and hopefully we'll get a chance to talk to him about it, but for whatever reason, he's just reluctant to shoot threes. But he generates more threes than any other player in the NBA with his passing. And so when you made that shift to San Antonio, all of a sudden you're generating threes at a high rate. And I think your first year you guys led the league in 3-point percentage. I may have that wrong, but so that's in it of itself is a skill set. Last game of the bubble that I played in was against you guys. I hit 8 threes and had 31. And there was a moment towards the end of the game where I think it was your rookie. I think it was Keldon Johnson. He was getting some instruction from Pop, and I turned to Pop, and I was like, I'm going right, Pop. He can't stop me.
We told him the whole time.
I went right every time. I hit 1 3 going left, but I was like, I'm going right. Going right.
And we told him, I swear, and that's why I love him to death. He's one of my favorite rookies I ever played with. And we kept telling him the whole time. But, you know, he always want to take on the challenges, too. That's why I love him.
He's going to be really good. I'm impressed. He played really well in the bubble. I'm really impressed.
He's going to be pretty good, but he takes on the challenges. But it's like, yo, I'm telling you, he's going to go right. Just, you know, rookie mistakes. We all have.
The last thing I want to say about this is just I don't necessarily think the average NBA fan understands how hard it is to score 25 a game in the NBA without shooting threes. And it really is. It really comes down to really two things, and you have both of them, and that's elite shot making and the ability to get to the free throw line. Because you can't really score 25 without making 8 free throws a game, shooting twos. It's literally impossible. You'd have to make 12 twos a game, which means you'd have to shoot 24 twos a game. So it's elite scoring, and it's efficient because of your ability to get to the free throw line as well.
Yeah, for sure. And I think I remember my first year, maybe it was my rookie year. One guy who always put that in my head about getting to the free throw line was Corey Maggette. Corey always used to tell me, like, look, I ain't the greatest shooter and all this, but I'm going to beat somebody ass getting to the basket. I'm going to get to the free throw line, you know, and he always had the Maggette cut, you know.
The Maggette cut. He has a cut named after him.
He has a cut named after him. And, you know how big and strong Maggette was. And when he turned that corner and had that angle on you, there's nothing you could do. You know, and he always told me, you know, if you get to the free throw line 8, 10 times, you know, you good. You know, you're going to get a rhythm from the free throw line. You're going to get a layup here. You're going this. You're going this. And as you become bigger, stronger, and smarter, you're going to understand how and when to attack, when to put your staple on the game. He always used to tell me, always know the penalty. Always know the penalty. I'm like, why? It's like, when they in a penalty, you run off the screen real hard, run through their arm, 2 free throws right there. You don't even got the ball. You know what I mean? He used to show me little things like that to where, as I guess, year after year, I start to realize how important free throws was. Even in late game situations of understanding, like, you know, guys want to play you so physical. That's why I get the pump fake from. You know, Sam Cassell always told me to pump fake. You know, I got that from Sam Cassell, always hearing him. Gary Payton. Like, so a lot of these influences that I've always had through my career always gave me the game, and I always look at them like, damn, they had a great career. You know what I mean? So a lot of that sticks with me. You know what I mean? I don't expect, like, the normal fan to understand why I play the way I play. You know what I mean? Because all the guys I looked up to, Gary Payton, Andre Miller, all these guys were so dominant at what they did and was able to do some great things that could be overlooked. So it's like, you know, I put that to my game, post up, you know, pump fakes, getting to the free throw line, knowing the penalty, understanding what to attack. You know, small things to the game that gave me the career that I have to this day. And that's why I still stick with it and kind of don't let others dictate, you know, how I should play, how I need to play, or what I need to do to be good.
Yeah. Well, I've had multiple coaches in my career fine us if we fall for your shot fake. It was you and D Wade. Yeah. It was like, they're going to shot fake before the dribble and they're going to shot fake after the dribble. And if no one falls for it, you guys are good. If you fall for it, it's $50. I like hearing you talk about the penalty, because this is something that I think a lot of good players do. First of all, you have to have, you know, game awareness to understand when a team has 4 fouls. But there's a couple things you can do to sort of counter over-aggressive defenders. And I'm always aware of an over-aggressive defender as soon as I step on the floor. But my thing is, I'm not going to draw attention to that until we get to at least 4 fouls. I'm not going to waste one of my tricks. And it's not a trick because he's fouling me, but I'm not going to waste. So whether it's, you know, you catch it on the wing and you do the Chris Paul, Kevin Durant rip through, okay? That's one, right? Or if I'm getting a pin down and his top lock position is not correct, right? I'm not going to rip through his arms, or I'm not going to draw attention to him grabbing my jersey if we have 3 fouls. I'm waiting, and then I get 2 free throws when I wait.
Yep.
It's just it's a little trick of the trade.
It's the small little shit that goes over a lot of people's head that I think, like, I don't know if it's – that's why I was telling the story the other day. I'm glad I was able to play in, like, that era of, like, have to guard Ray Allen, Rip Hamilton, all those type of guys, because I always used to wonder, like, man, how? I'm not doing nothing. Like, how? I was doing the same thing in the first quarter. Like, you know what I mean? It's like you start to understand, like, all these tricks of the trade that separated them throughout the game and late in the game. Like you said, like, you before you go out there on the court, like, yo, he's over aggressive, or he's young, or he's a gambler, or he's you know these tendencies that a lot of people don't go out there. They just go out there thinking, okay, we about to play a basketball game. Like, it's so much to the game before you even step out there, to where, like, I wouldn't want to say manipulated. It's just being a student of the game, and
it's being attentive. Being attentive.
Exactly.
You're reading your opponent. You're reading the game situation. I had a young guy for a Western Conference team. I checked into the game. I was coming off the bench. I checked into the game with 3 minutes to go in the first quarter, 4 minutes, whatever it was. We were already in the bonus, and I'm like, this guy is dead meat. Got him 3 straight times down the floor. I shot 6 free throws in like 45 seconds because I just knew he was going to go for it. DeMar, when you tweeted out, this depression got the best of me, in February of 2018, when you tweeted that out, did you know what you were doing?
I did.
Like, did you know the impact of that tweet?
I didn't. And you know what's crazy, Jerry, about that shit? Like, when I tweeted it, like, I remember that whole year, I was already having a rough year. Like, from, a lot of stuff had never been addressed for me personally, to, like, make a smooth kind of, like, transitioning over to a different type of life, from being, 18 years old at Compton High to USC for a couple of months to now I'm in the NBA. So all of a sudden, now I'm in the NBA, everything I just went through, I never addressed it or made knowledge of it, or, kind of find peace with a lot of stuff from my upbringing, to where now I'm around all these grown men. I'm the only rookie. I just want to play basketball. And for me being a star in high school to kind of being, like, knocked back down and kind of build back up, all I cared about was being in the gym, like, working my ass off, to where you start to, reap your hard work, and all this attention start to come that you still not prepared for, and it just overwhelmed you. I think I was going into, like, my second or third All-Star or whatever it was, and I remember that week, it had been a tough week. We was on the road, and I just wanted to get home. I hadn't seen my kids in probably, like, a couple of weeks at that time, and All-Star Weekend was in L.A. I'm a starter that year, so I just want to get home and see my kids. I'm excited to get home and see my kids, and it's like, I come to L.A., I'm passing hotels, I'm on the Ritz-Carlton on the side. I'm like, so much shit was overwhelming. Then all of a sudden you got family, friends, people all on your back talking, man, let's do this. We need this. I need this. I want to bring blah, blah, blah. I need 10 tickets. I need this. Like, on my head. I remember I go home, frustrated with everybody. I go home. It's the middle of the night. I was so frustrated sitting in the room by myself, right? I tweeted that. I fall asleep. And we had media the next day for All-Star practice, right? We had media, and I remember I woke up, my phone was blowing up, my agent called, and he was like, yeah, so how are we going to do this? So on my way, I was in the car leaving my house on my way to the convention center, for practice, and they was like, yo, you're going to get asked all these questions about this. And I'm like, what you mean, man? For me, it was just like, that's how I felt. Like, that's what I was going through. I wasn't trying to get no attention, anything like that. And I just said, man, I'm going to just get however I feel off my chest from there, you know. And I'm glad I did, because it turned into something that was bigger than I ever could imagine, you know, being able to help people, to be able to put my vulnerabilities out there of me being an NBA player, where people think everything is so perfect and everything. Being able to do that, I seen so many people in a positive light comes towards me, like, you know, I saved them, and I was like, yo, I was going through something, right? You know what I mean? But it made me feel good with the reaction and that I got from people. And ever since then, you know, even to this day, you know, I could be out eating, and I remember an older guy came up to me and said, man, you helped my son out with life. You know, you gave him a different type of confidence. And when I hear stuff like that, it's bigger than basketball for me at that point. You know, just being able to save somebody's lives is definitely humbling.
I specifically remember saying this to a few people, and you and I don't know each other that well, but I remember when that happened, and all of a sudden, you know, you became sort of one of the faces of this mental health awareness. I was like, the crazy thing is DeMar's not doing that for attention.
All right, yeah.
He's not. It's literally coming from a genuine place, and to me, it's so amazing, because you've become a leader on this issue. Mm-hmm. And in many ways, that tweet, whatever time it was in the middle of the morning or middle of the night, was a turning point for how we treat athletes and their mental health. Because this was not part of any discussion any of us were having. And you fast forward now, I guess 2.5 years later, but let's say beginning of 2019, 2020. So a year and a half later, every single NBA team has a mental health professional on staff.
Yep.
And so the turnaround to that is just remarkable. And you know, I'm grateful for you, and we should also mention Kevin Love, who said you were an inspiration for him. I'm grateful for the two of you guys for leading on this, because this is, to me, this is one of the biggest issues we have in our league. And up until 2 years ago, no one was talking about it.
Nobody, and it's crazy. Like you said, like I just really genuinely had a moment, and to see how much, like, you know, it just made me think after the fact I did that, like, yo, this is important for all of us. I don't care where you come from, who you are, any type of athlete. Like, we human at the end of the day, and we go through so much. And on a bad day, we get scrutinized, we get talked about. We do this, like we human beings at the end of the day that goes through so much crazy shit that we don't even address. That, you know, a lot of us got to deal with. You know, it's. And I remember I sat with a group of kids, and I was telling them, like, people just see us put on NBA jersey, go out there and play, but the other 22, 21 hours out the day, we have lives. Like, we have life, and everybody go through some real stuff that puts them in a dark place, that don't feel comfortable coming out saying stuff, because we looked at like, oh, we rich, we got this, we got everything in the world. What's wrong with you? Like, that statement I hate the most out of anything, because it's like it's crazy.
It's dehumanizing, is what it is.
It's by far.
It's dehumanizing, and it pisses me off every time I hear that shit too.
Yeah, it puts me in a different. It puts me in a different way, because it's like I remember one of the craziest things I read Jim Carrey said was he Jim Carrey or forgot what he said? He wishes everybody was rich so they could realize that money isn't the answer to truly find yourself, right? And that hit home for me, because it's like so many people don't know. You know, they think you get money, you this, all your problems go away, or this. And it's like, yo, we really got to address this matter at hand. We so quick to talking about you got to eat better, take care of your body. You know what I mean? We so quick to talk about nutrition and doing all this stuff, but your mental health, if this not right, everything else will fall apart. The stronger this is, everything else will fall in place. So,
well, for both you guys, I think one thing that fans, whoever, people who are not in your position don't necessarily understand is the amount of pressure you're under all the time. And everybody has pressure in their lives. They have pressure at their jobs. They have pressure with family, things like this. But usually there's sort of peaks and valleys, and it's not a thing that is a constant state of being. But part of being a public figure, part of being a public performer, when you have to, every time you go out there and there's 20,000 people waiting for you to do something, that weighs on you mentally, not even mentioning all the stuff with the family like you were talking about before and everything like that. And so it's a tough sell. And to JJ's point, what makes it so important that you did it is you were the first person to say, like, you guys need to understand what's going on. Because I'm sure there were so many guys before you who just had the same sort of feelings you had and just kind of ate it and internalized it, and it led to problems for them because they never really spoke about it.
For sure. And it becomes a snowball effect if you don't address a lot of your issues. Because I remember even that season, I just remember so many moments where, if it was a bad call or something, like I used to lose it. I used to have to take a second to find myself, because it's like, I'm dealing with so much other stuff and I'm letting that get to me in this moment. Let me figure out how I need to calm myself down. Even in your personal life, sometimes you just relax, and then it's like you're being bombarded with some that's nothing, and you just overly react, and you just in a negative space. You have your moments where you just don't want to talk to nobody. You don't want to be around nobody. You just lose it, and that's not healthy. And the older that I got, I start to realize that, because it's like, I want to be a positive person when it comes to being around my kids, and that's what we all should think about and understand that, sometimes it's okay to talk about it. It's okay to put your feelings on Front Street and put it all out there, man, because it does nothing but release so much stress, so much weight, to understand how to find yourself and keep moving in the right direction. Because you could get lost quick and keep steamrolling in the wrong direction and not even know it, So for me to be able to do that and see how many guys, shouted me out for it, like I'm still humbled by it. Like every time Kevin speaks, he mentions me, I'm like, Kevin, I'm like, I love you. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, it's just so crazy, because it's like, I didn't do it for no attention, to this day. Like, I don't want no credit for it, none of that. I just want everybody to be able to tell their story, to be able to empower, the youth, these young kids that's coming up, because it's a scary time today. Like, when I look at the youth that get so caught up in, just like social media, thinking that's life, or justification of who you are, or acceptance. And that puts you in a bad space too, because it's like, growing up, we had to deal with, like, everybody had a bully. Now your phone is the bully. You pick up the phone, you dealing with bullies, and that shit could put you in a fucked up place to not want to do nothing, not want to go outside, not want to be with your friends, not want to this, because one person out of 20 called you ugly or said something negative about you. Like it's a scary time, it's a scary time. So it's like, you got to be able to give that mental strength to these young people coming up, because the world is a fucking scary place now.
I feel like every time I log on Twitter, I get a little more anxious, and I'm already naturally anxious. Tommy, to your point, performance anxiety is a real thing. And when you have that build up, call it every other night for 8 months, it can certainly wear on you. Yeah. And it is important to do mental check-ins. It's important to talk to someone. I've talked about this a bunch on the podcast. Like, I've talked to people. I've had people help me. It's part of the reason I enjoy doing the mentorship thing that I'm doing now later in my career, is because I can talk to these young guys. And DeMar, I would say in my own life, I've noticed that while my anxiety does exist in the off season, it becomes so heightened during the season. Like there's a stark difference in season versus out of season. There's this cloud hanging over me at all times because I know, even if you have a good game, it's like, all right, tomorrow I got another one and I got to perform again. You have that bad game and it literally weighs on you until that next time you get to perform. Well, what happens if you have 3 bad games in a row? Then that you said that snowball, like it can snowball out of control. And again, I'm just so grateful for you. I'm grateful for Kevin. I'm grateful for the NBA for listening to us and for implementing some of these new protocols because I think it's important. All right, before we get to the draft, I did want to touch on one thing. So you played AAU with Lil Romeo.
Yeah.
And Master P was the coach, or he was just
He was a coach.
Master P was the coach.
He was an actual coach.
And okay, so this is how you ended up at USC.
So
it was a package deal.
Yeah. So, and I wanted to stay home. I had looked at a couple other schools, but it all came down to me wanting to stay home. But the crazy thing, even how that played out, I want to say, like, I was in the 8th grade. I played for another big-time AAU team that had broke up. And we had no team to go to. And Master P, I forgot how we got word saying, like, he'd take over the whole team. So I'm like, I think I was like 13, 14. I'm like, hell nah, man. Ain't about to take over the whole team. I remember we had practice. It was like practice tryout. And Romeo, he was there. He practiced with us. And I remember Master P came. I'm just thinking, all right, he about to show up. But the whole time I was at AAU, he never missed one practice. No game. We used to have buses to the game, like a real, like, the buses we take to the game. We had the buses. We stayed in a nice hotel, played in the best tournaments, had the best jerseys, best everything. And I think even being around Master P, he kind of like, they took me in like I was like an adopted son. They took me in and to see their lifestyle, me being a kid in Compton. Like every weekend, I always used to want to go to their house. Like, shit, if I go over their house and not be in Compton, like, this shit, all right, cool, I'm about to go do that. And it taught me a different type of way of being humble. I think, like, I needed that for my career, going into my career, because I never felt like I needed anything or anything was new because I seen it, being around Master P, or the way he treated us and the way he took care of us, that all he wanted us to do was make it out. Like, he put us in just the best position and comfortable position to just work on your game, go to school, stay out of trouble, and you're going to make it, and that relationship carried over to, us going to college together. And even to this day, being close, that's like another side of my family and everything. So it's crazy how it all played out.
What was the LA high school scene like when you were there? And I think most of our listeners know, but LA high school basketball, there's a debate on this, but is certainly in the top 2 or 3 consistently every year best high school basketball in the country.
Yeah, I mean, I think we was even arguing about this in the bubble. How many guys from LA that we had that came out, like, it's crazy. Like, I could go down the list, like, James Harden, Russell, Paul George,
Kawhi.
Kawhi. Man, it's Clay. I played against Clay all through high school. Drew Holiday. Man, the list is so long. It's like I don't even want to miss guys, because growing up, like, I remember being 12, playing against Drew. on up to high school, to college, James, like all these guys, we played against each other, and to see all of us make it out and get to the point to where we at now, and you got to put us up there with one of the all-time greatest city when it comes to players out that city.
LA has become, I think there was an ESPN article about this in the last year or so, but it's become the center of the basketball world in this country. Most of the off-season training's out there. A ton of guys have off-season homes out there. Free agency starts 3 hours earlier out there. Like it just, and then you factor in that there's so many players that grow up in that area, and then obviously return when they make it to the league and buy their own houses and buy their parents' houses and raise their family there. So it's wild how relevant LA is right now. And I live in Brooklyn, and for some reason, New York City high school hoops, it's gone away. Yeah. Because when I was growing up, it was at the very end, like during the 80s, 90s, and really early 2000s. Like New York City high school hoops was huge, and now it's not so much. And a lot of these guys, they obviously go to some of the prep schools and stuff, but it just nobody talks about Christ the King anymore.
Right. Yeah.
Christ. When I was in school, high school, that's all everybody talked about was Christ the King, which is a high school here in Queens. All right, let's get to the draft.
We're drafting best foods that you can get at a drive-through dining establishment.
Oh,
any capacity.
Go first.
In any case, you're first. And so obviously, whatever you pick, we get pick, but be specific. So not
it's
like
gotta
the
be
name
drive-through.
of the place.
It's got to be drive-through.
It's got to be
and
drive-through.
The curbside pickup does not fucking count.
Yeah,
right.
No COVID.
Drive-through, and I got to give you the whole order.
So you're first. You pick one thing. So it could be one specific thing. So not like the whole place.
Drive-through. Shit. It's a place here in LA called Tam's Burger.
Great pick.
Tam's Burger. It's amazing.
What's your item there?
My item there is the turkey burger.
I love it. That's a great first pick. All right, I'm up. I'm going sticking with LA. I'm going In-N-Out animal style burger and fries.
All right.
Taking it off, just knocking it off the board right now.
I think for drive-through establishments, In-N-Out animal style double got so overrated that now it's not properly rated, because it is still a great drive-through cheeseburger. It's great. There are better burgers than it, but for a drive-through place, I agree. It's great. I love the pick, Tommy.
Tomorrow, we had De'Aaron Fox on a couple weeks ago, and he's a crazy In-N-Out hater. Like he hates, not even like he doesn't like it, like he's legitimately a hater on it. And we're kind of like, dude, you're in California. You got to learn to like it.
It's a lot of people hate In-N-Out here from here, though.
Tams is a good pick.
Tams.
That's a really good first pick.
I got two picks. I'm gonna start off. I'm just gonna go for it. Two chicken picks. So I'm gonna go the OG chicken sandwich at Chick-fil-A, and I'm gonna go with the Bojangles Cajun filet chicken biscuit.
You going to Bojangles?
Yeah, that got me through college basically.
Oh,
Bojangles Cajun filet chicken biscuit, some fries, honey mustard, and sweet tea. There you go. That's the order.
See?
All right. I'm up second. Crunchwrap Supreme.
Crunchwrap Supreme.
I knew you were going Taco Bell next.
Got to.
I haven't had that since high school.
Got to.
All right. You have two picks here, DeMar.
I got two?
Yeah.
I'm going to go with Chick-fil-A. I'm going to go with the 12 count large fries, a medium sweet tea with a lot of ice.
Like it.
With ranch and Polynesian sauce on the side.
Okay. All right.
Like it. Solid. All right. So now you got third.
You got another pick. So we'll just put Chick-fil-A 12 count. It's a great pick. It's a great pick.
And it's another place here called Lucy's.
I shouldn't have done this with somebody from LA. Yeah, you took
Lucy.
This is a great pick.
Lucy's. I go there, get some Mexican food. Anything I want from there.
Lucy's is definitely the best drive-through Mexican place in the country.
Yeah, Lucy's.
There's not even Taco Bell is everywhere and it's classic, but Lucy's is great.
Lucy's.
All right, my third. I'm going Sonic.
Ooh,
Black and white milkshake.
Okay.
Can't go wrong with that.
That's solid. All right. If an item is no longer available on the menu, are we still allowed to draft it, Tommy?
No. Needs
No?
to be available right now.
Yeah.
Okay, because I was going to go with the double-decker taco at Taco Bell, but I guess they took it off the menu last year,
Yeah.
Can't do it.
which is so disappointing.
Can't do it.
All right. I'm going to go with hash brown at McDonald's, personal favorite of mine, and a glazed donut from Krispy Kreme.
Can't go wrong with that.
Yeah.
Can't go wrong with that. All right.
Does Krispy Kreme have? I didn't realize they had drive-through.
Yeah. Rookie year, man. That's how I survived.
What's the donut place in LA, DeMar, with the Randy's? Did they do drive-through?
Yep.
All right, that's pick number 4. Randy's.
Randy's.
Chocolate donut. I can't get another LA pick taken from me.
Randy's. All right.
Yeah.
Oh, you got 2, so these are your last 2 picks tomorrow.
All right. El Pollo Loco. Got me through college.
Solid.
El Pollo Loco
Solid.
and Fat Burger.
Okay.
I like both of those.
All right.
This is a question for the group for my 5th one. I should have looked this up, but it came to me. Does Popeyes do drive-through?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm going chicken sandwich.
Okay.
All right.
Good. That's good value in the 5th round.
Yeah.
I like it. I'm going to go with Carnitas burrito bowl from Chipotle. Yep.
Dude, Chipotle they don't have a drive-through.
Yes, they do.
Do
Yes,
they?
they do.
Where do they have a
Chipotle.
drive-through?
It's called a Chipotle. They have like 100 locations.
Really?
Yes. They're doubling down on this thing, man.
Wow.
Wow.
Chipotle. It's called a Chipotle.
That's great information to know. Forget the draft.
Oh, they're making a killing.
Yeah.
They are going to kill it. All right. I like everybody's picks. I actually think that I might have won this draft. I'm pretty confident.
I'm really hungry right now.
We'll see.
Lucy's and Tams, I think, won this draft. I think DeMar won this.
All right, we'll see. The guest always wins. We're so far behind. DeMar, thank you for the time, man. I appreciate it. This was great, man.
Thanks, dude.
For real.